Learn about investing part 3, compound growth. In our last video, I left you with this statement: the potential of higher returns necessarily comes at the expense of more risk. And I indicated that this particular wording was chosen very carefully. Again, many people have heard the shorter and simpler phrase risk and return, but in my experience, unsuccessful investors focus too much on the return and not enough on the risk. And part of the reason is that it can be very seductive to think about how you can grow your wealth when you first learn about compound growth. So in today's video, we're going to first explain what compound growth is, because yes, it's a very powerful concept which tempts many people to shoot for higher returns, but in the next video, we'll take a look at the trade-off, which is risk. Okay, so what is compound growth? First, you should know that there are a number of phrases that all basically mean the same thing. Sometimes people will refer to this concept as compound interest, exponential growth, compounding returns, and so on. They all refer to the same concept. Simple interest or growth is different than compound interest or growth, and we'll use an example to compare the two to make the differences crystal clear. Let's say that we have $100 and we found an investment that pays 5% interest per year. $100 multiplied by 5% equals $5. So at the end of the year, our $100 investment has earned us $5 in interest. Scenario 1 will be our simple interest scenario. So in year 1, our original $100 earns 5%, so we get $5 in interest for the year. Now, let's say we take this $5 and we spend it on a cinnamon roll. And I wouldn't blame you, because cinnamon rolls are like crack. So at the beginning of year 2, we'd still have $100 invested, and it would again earn 5%, which would be another $5. But every year we spend the earnings on cinnamon rolls. And if you remember, every year we would be able to buy slightly less due to inflation. So our annual cinnamon roll gets smaller. And imagine we did this for 30 years. Every year we would earn $5 in interest, and every year we would spend it. At the end of 30 years, let's say we sold our investment to get our $100 back. In total, we earned $5 in interest per year for 30 years, or $150 in total interest earned. In scenario 2, the compound interest scenario, let's say we didn't spend the interest earned, but rather reinvested it back into this investment that earns 5% interest every year. So at the end of year 1, we now take the $5 of interest earned and add it to our amount invested. At the beginning of year 2, we now have $105 that will earn 5% for the next year. So in year 2, we have $105 earning 5% interest, which equals $5.25. At this point, you might be thinking, wow, a whole extra 25 cents. What's the big deal? Well, it is a big deal once you get through multiple cycles. Reinvesting our $5.25 means we are starting year 3 with $105 plus $5.25, which equals $110.25. We again earn 5% in year 3, and $110.25 multiplied by 5% interest equals $5.51. Let's see what happens if we keep taking the interest and keep reinvesting it every year. In year 4, we start with $110.25 plus $5.51 for a total of $115.76. That will earn $5.79 in interest. Reinvesting that, in year 5, we start with $121.55 and earn $6.08. Let's skip forward to year 10. We start the year with $155.13 and earn $7.76. Fast forward again to year 20, and we start the year with $252.70 and earn $12.63. And in year 30, we start with $411.62, and multiplying by 5%, we earn $20.58 that year to end up with $432.19. So if we subtract our initial investment of $100, we're left with a total amount of interest earned over these 30 years of $332.19. Now remember, in scenario 1, where we earned simple interest, we earned $150 in interest over 30 years. In scenario 2, with compound interest, We earned $332.19 over that same time period, and in both cases, our investment earned 5% per year. So for our definition of compound interest or growth, compound interest is when you have earnings on your earnings. Instead of spending the money your investment earns, you reinvest it so that this new money can also earn a return. So now we know what this concept is, but why can it be so powerful and also so seductive? Well, let's take a look at what happens to our comparison if we change the rate of return. If we were able to earn 7% every year, then we would have earned $210 in total interest in scenario 1, but $661.23 in scenario 2. Now, you'll see a lot of references in older books on investing and even on the internet today to people using a 10% rate of return for projections like these. If you could get that for 30 years straight, scenario 1 would have earned us $300 in interest, but scenario 2 increases to a whopping $1,644.94 in interest earned. Well, that looks pretty attractive, and so many people would say, hey, let me put away more than just $100 one time. Let me consistently invest $100 per month. And what if I started at age 18 and retired at 65? That's 47 years of making consistent contributions. With a 5% rate of return, that would end up being $226,428. With a 7% rate of return, that increases to $438,642. Invariably, people will play with the multitude of calculators available online and start to play with the variables just like this. And I guarantee that most of you who do will eventually start using some really high rates of return, like 10% over all 47 years. And if you did that, that would give you an ending value of just under $1.3 million. Okay, I think we've proven that focusing on the rate of return when coupled with the power of compounding growth is something that will get people really, really excited. And that's generally a good thing, but it does not come without cost. It is not as simple as simply picking investments that offer the potential of higher returns. The potential of higher returns, and again, I'm highlighting that word, potential, necessarily comes at the expense of more risk. In the next video, we're going to start to answer the question, what is risk, and how this is the trade-off for the potential of higher returns. In the meantime, I've had a few requests from viewers to set up a Patreon account. For those of you who are not familiar, Patreon allows people to contribute financially to creators who they want to support. I've set up an account for those who are interested, but don't worry if you're not. There's absolutely no expectation on my end whatsoever. Supporters will get extra perks though, like Google Hangouts for private Q&As, for example. Okay, that's it for this episode, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.